Hello and welcome back to the NHL Best Bets. Even though yesterday was maybe a bit more football related day, there were a few games that were played in NHL as well. And we made a few picks this time. Those were not correct. First, Philadelphia visited Washington. Our pick was Washington, and Washington was the team that basically drove the game, but Philadelphia made all the goals. So there were much more shots by Washington, but they couldn't get enough goals, and then lost 4-7 with few goals at the end of the game to secure Philadelphia's victory. Then another game. This was a bit long shot bet for us. Kings continued their trip in Vegas. Game was very even at the end. Vegas won then 4-3. How do you see, Tommy, these games? Do you make these bets again if that would be another mulligan here?
Yeah, according to the simulations, I would do those bets again, and it was a good selection of picks for sure. The game in Washington. Washington played a lot better in the first two periods. They outshot Philadelphia 30-14 in those two periods, but didn't manage to keep their lead. And especially in the goal, of course, a young guy, Vanecek there, maybe didn't have his best day. Was pulled in the end of the second one, and then Craig Anderson came in and allowed then in the third period a couple of goals. Can't blame the goaltenders completely. There was a lot of miscommunication, a lot of lack of effort in the defensive end of Washington Capitals. So a little bit worrying for their team. They look good at times, but then they collapse like they did last night. So even if the first line of Alex Ovechkin and Nicholas Backstrom and Tom Wilson scored 4 or 5 goals, they still couldn't win the game. So a bit worrying there. A nice win for Philly, of course, on the road there, even if they were outshot by the Capitals. And then, of course, the Vegas game, like we stated, it was a heavy underdog pick. Kings there. They did manage to score a couple of goals, which was a good result for Kings because they've had massive issues in scoring. But Vegas was the stronger side. So there was a couple of percent value. I think we hit that, but couldn't get the victory this time. But in the long run, these are the sort of games that provide value if we keep on picking them.
How about those other games that were played yesterday? Did our machine picked right teams? I think there were at least a few good visitor wins based on our simulations.
Yeah, I think we again managed to pick those that were incorrect in the system. So we had, of course, Chicago and Kevin Lankinen beating Dallas. They did 1-2 after overtime. Kevin Lankinen, another great game there. And also in Columbus, Carolina managed to beat Columbus, which was an interesting take. There was a goal that was clear offside that was not ruled out, and there was some miscommunication between the situation room in Toronto. A lot of confusion, and then of course Carolina ended up winning the game with that one goal. So probably something that John Tortorella will be telling the press later on. He was very nice about it last night, but let's see in the future if this game ends up costing Columbus something. It might be that he'll let us know. Very, very confusing situation overall. Also, then Florida was beaten by Detroit, which is of course a surprise. We did not predict that to happen. So Florida also was on top of the game. They outshot their opponents. They had a lot of scoring chances, but Thomas Greiss was playing really well in Detroit goal. And also Detroit showed that they're not complete pushovers. They did have some feistiness in their game, and then managed to beat Florida 3-1. And that's about it. St. Louis as well. We had St. Louis beating Arizona, but Arizona took the spoils there, and they did play pretty solid game. They've gotten points out of most of their last games. not winning that much, but managing to get to the overtime and getting points. So Arizona shows another team that shows these sort of qualities that they are actually competing, and they shouldn't be taken as a certain points for any of the top teams. So lesson learned for St. Louis there, certainly.
Yeah, I think the St. Louis game was already earlier, but that game that they were planning to play against Colorado, that was postponed. So.
Oh yeah. Actually, I was speaking about the last night's game, the previous.
Yeah, I think it's a bit confusing now when there's only these early games, and then we are looking these games from the another side of the world, and the time has already changed. So is this yesterday or day before? But it's good anyhow that we had those few games, correct, Chicago and Carolina at the end. But now they schedule returns somehow the standard weekly routine, and there is 6 games starting evening time, no more day games after the Super Bowl has been played. So we have picked few picks here, and I'll show those right away. Here we have New York teams meeting each other at Madison Square Garden. This is the rematch of the first 2 games of the season. First one, Islanders won, was it 4-0, and then second one, Rangers came back storming, winning 5-1. Now Rangers has been starting to play a little bit better in recent games. Islanders won on Saturday, but they have been struggling on the road. So even though this is not any great travel for these teams, and there's not too much spectators either, let's see how it goes when these rivals meet in Madison Square Garden. Then other game here, Vancouver continues their trip in Toronto. This would be third matchup between these teams, and these have been real goal fests previous. The only last one, when Toronto won 5-1, hasn't include over 6 goals. So there's a good odds for the over 6.5, and if the defending for both of these, especially for Vancouver, is what it is, and Toronto big guns keep scoring like they have been during the last few games, this should be clearly over. Toronto last games they have scored 5-7, 3-4-4, and like I said, only the last game was 6 goals. Other totals have been 7 or more.
Yeah, I think these picks are great for tonight's games. Of course, New York Rangers finally got to their winning ways. They beat Pittsburgh Penguins, then they beat Washington Capitals. So 2 big teams in the Eastern Division. Rangers, a young team, probably not hasn't been that good in past couple of seasons, but definitely getting better all the time. So if they are now top their problems early on, they are a difficult team to beat at home, especially. And of course, Islanders also got a win last time, finally after 5 losses. They beat also Pittsburgh Penguins at home. But Penguins has been a good opponent for Islanders, and I think Rangers are a tougher matchup for the Barry Trotz team. So I'm expecting Rangers to do good things in here with nice odds at home. Then going to the over, of course, Toronto, like we've said before, extremely offense-heavy team. Not that great in the defense. They're not even trying to play that solid defense. Their best weapon is in the offense, so they're gonna score a lot of goals. Vancouver a little bit struggling this season, young team as well. Of course, a line of great players there in the top of the defensemen's scoring race. Quinn Hughes, excellent season so far. Mostly an attacking player as well, even if he is a defender. So these sort of players can score goals, so we can look at some sort of a goal fest of at least 7-8 goals probably.
let's hope that it will be the case. How about these few other games that we had or we have tonight? Is there some value from the simulations for these ones?
Yeah, tonight we have that San Luis Arizona game that I was speaking about. So it's going to be 3-1 to San Luis. No, we have some value for San Luis now because, like I said, they lost to Arizona a couple of times. Quite bad games for them. They had their chances but couldn't convert. So I think tonight they will bounce back and beat the Arizona. We have a couple of percent value there for the San Luis team. The odds are not that great. It's about 65%. So not worth our pick, but worth mentioning that it's likely that San Luis will find their way to beat Arizona. In the other games, we have our favorite Edmonton visiting Ottawa, and Ottawa, of course, one of the worst teams in the Canadian division. Edmonton on the road, a big question mark how they're gonna go now. They lost last time we picked them against Calgary, so now continuing to Ottawa. So interesting game if Ottawa can actually compete with the Edmonton team, especially with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid there on fire still. Another interesting matchup in Nashville. Finally, Tampa Bay gets to match with this very competitive team. Nashville, of course, a little bit disappointing so far this season. Could have won more games, have lost really narrowly a couple of them. Tampa Bay, reigning champions, excellent team in every way. We have value there for Tampa Bay for about 3%, 62% for Tampa Bay to win the game. Odds are 58%. So a good value there for favorite, but again, maybe not worth our pick because everyone can pick Tampa Bay in every game if you want.
How about this rematch of last night, Carolina against Columbus? How do you see that real back-to-back game? Is it now home team that comes storming out of the gate after those small issues with the officiating and maybe robbing the victory from them?
Yeah, I'm sure they will. It's been the team will be really pumped to go out. Of course, Carolina is a little bit better team when it comes to quality, but Columbus will be a tough nut to crack tonight, especially after last night's happening. So we do have in simulations Carolina winning 65%, while the odds are about 57. So there is quite a lot of value. But taking into consideration the happenings last night, also back-to-back, do you happen to have the numbers for back-to-backs for Columbus, Carolina? How have they been doing?
Yeah, so based on those numbers, I think our value is on the right side because Carolina on the road have won a bit less than 49% of the games during the last 3 seasons, but back-to-back away games they have been able to win 59.1%, and then vice versa. Columbus home win percentage is 56%, but back-to-back home game win percentage is only 38.9%. So there, I think Carolina has been the team that has managed to play better back-to-back games, but like I said, Columbus have maybe a bit more solid goaltending, and if Joonas Korpisalo is playing today, there might be chances that with angry team and maybe not better goaltending than last night, Columbus will have a chance. But these are the reasons why we may not pick these kind of games, that there is a lot of contradicting info coming from stats, from our simulations, and then the qualitative input that we are giving to these picks, and that's the point that we would like to make always, that it's not only one number or one statistics that you are relying on, not even the win percentage of the simulations that is simulated from these games, but all different kind of things, and then you need to make the decision.
Yeah, the simulation system cannot simulate the really, really angry John Tortorella behind the bench. So it's another factor that needs to be taken from outside the numbers. But like I said, the simulations probably are taking into consideration these trends that you just mentioned. That Carolina is in these sort of situations historically has been a lot better. So that's what explains the difference in numbers. And the simulations are indicating that Carolina wins. So let's see how the system does, and let's see how our assessment goes.
We'll do another good evening of the games tonight. Let's see how angry John Tortorella is and how that is reflecting the performance of Columbus tonight.
Yeah, should be interesting to watch.